Hi everybody, this is Dino Chris from Prehistoric Facts, and this is an answering questions episode, so let's actually get right to it. Alright, Brendan from Morris, New York. Why did Peter Larson steal Sue? Because could be he forget permission? If you're actually asking for, why did Peter Larson really steal Sue, and then did he really forget about it? Well, basically, how the story goes is basically is this. Pete Larson and his team during 1990 and during the fossil hunting season. Fossil hunting season begins usually by end of May and into beginning of September. And then basically what this actually is this. During 1990, him and his team, along with colleague Sue Hendrickson, basically were out in the field, basically in around the northwestern part of South Dakota, where basically the Hell Creek Formation is usually found in South Dakota. And then basically Sue Hendrickson actually went out to kind of wander around in the morning to actually see what she could find. And basically she stumbled upon a skeleton that was actually kind of protruding out of the rock. Basically there was bones that were scattered a little bit on the ground, and basically in this batch of sandstone is basically the skeleton of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And basically Pete Larson dug this skeleton out, but even though the owner of the land did actually get permission to actually have Pete Larson to actually dig out Sue. But actually, let's actually fast forward here for a little bit. What happened is basically is that the owner of the land actually thought that Pete Larson didn't do the paperwork properly, which that did happen. And basically what Pete Larson did throughout early in his career was basically is that he actually did some really bad financial things that shouldn't have been done. And basically was that he actually sent out checks to people that he shouldn't have written to, and to actually buy fossils, and also basically fossils that he discovered, also that he actually found, and tried to actually sell them out of the country. And that's basically a bad thing, because you have to go through customs. And once that happens, basically is that all the finds that he actually had will actually be turned over to the government, the U.S. government. And so the FBI and the National Guard were called in to actually retrieve Sue. Now, necessarily, the owner of the land also didn't do some good things as well. It was basically, he thought that he can get more money by actually auctioning off Sue. And also another thing was that the owner of the land actually kind of thought that it was easier to do it. But even though he should have worked things out, instead of actually say, hey, I didn't get enough money, and even though I should have gotten more money from an auction, I deserve to actually get this fossil back. And pretty much, Pete Larson was actually convicted of trespassing and financial penalties as well. And so basically he was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison, and also 2 years of probation. So pretty much was that he could not go on land to actually search for fossils that much during his probation. So pretty much he was stuck at his house, and also at the Black Hills Institute of Geological Research, where basically that's where he works. Now today I think he still hasn't quite recovered from that, but even though he actually is still a good paleontologist, it's just that he needs to understand. I think sometimes he just needs to understand that some of the things that he did probably were some things that he shouldn't have done. And also, he threw his own brother under the bus. So basically, that's not a good thing, especially when you're actually being called upon for financial difficulties. And basically, you can't blame somebody else for that, especially if it's all on you. And I say that he's still a good paleontologist. He's still discovered so many dinosaurs in the United States, and basically wants to actually promote fossils that have been discovered in North America to actually stay in North America and basically kind of actually be actually seen in museums to actually have people see them and more like that, But even though he's still a strong advocate on Tyrannosaur research, and basically, I think what it comes down to is that he taught a lot of people about how to dig fossils and all that sort of stuff. But basically, he actually was also kind of almost condemned by the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology, and basically it's just that because since he's considered to be an amateur fossil hunter, that the Society of Vertebrate Paleontology basically thought that he was more like a pirate, basically pirating fossils and actually selling them out of the places where basically that shouldn't have been sold to. But even though it was a long time ago that amateur fossil hunters and professional paleontologists worked together, but right now it's kind of become like you need to have an academic degree in order to actually consider to be a professional fossil hunter. But even though there's amateur fossil hunters that have discovered new things all the time, and I'd say that the academia has gone a little too far in certain ways. Is that they try to draw a line in the sand by saying that you can't be a paleontologist or a fossil hunter unless if you have a degree. But even though there's people that have property, they have discovered fossils all the time. So I would say work together, work things out. If that person discovered a fossil, why don't the academia people actually just say you'll be credited for the find, and basically we can actually put your name in a published paper. It's just that we won't actually have you be counted for money. We won't give you any money that much. We won't give you that much money. But even though we will actually make you an amateur fossil hunter for a specific museum, that would actually be the reward that they'll get. And also his second question was Liopluerodon the biggest carnivorous marine reptile, and how big was it? Well, if anybody's actually seen the Walking with Dinosaurs television series, and I recommend actually seeing it, go get it on DVD or Blu-ray. It is really, really good. In the third episode called Cruel Sea, basically it actually highlights the Jurassic marine reptiles, and basically the animals that they're actually talking about are the ichthyosaurs, the pliosaurs, and the plesiosaurs, and some of the pterosaurs as well. When they actually kind of approached Liopluerodon, in this one scene where Liopluerodon actually approaches a female ichthyosaur, an ophthalmosaurus, and basically attacks it by biting it and basically crushing it with a powerful splash to actually get the ichthyosaur to be cut in half. Now, I don't think that would have happened unless if that Liopluerodon was so powerful. They actually what the producers did was actually make the Liopluerodon extra large, basically. They actually say that it actually grew to 70 feet or more, and basically would have weighed multiple tons, probably pretty close to 100 tons. But that's not true. See, Liopluerodon was pretty much between 30 to 35 feet long, and probably would have weighed probably between 8 to 10 tons. Now, this is not the largest carnivorous marine reptile. There are other large carnivorous marine reptiles that actually have existed in the Mesozoic era. Look at Kronosaurus. Kronosaurus is pretty much one of the largest Kronosaurs or pliosaurs that have actually existed. There's also there's a pliosaurus that was discovered in the Scandinavian Arctic. That basically was found by Norwegian paleontologists. At one time, it was called Predator X. They consider it as one of the largest marine reptiles that have ever existed. The Mosasaurs are also pretty large as well. The Mosasaurus would have actually been 50 feet long, but even though it would have not have been really heavy, so it was not really the heaviest. I would say the pliosaurs / Kronosaurus were probably the ones that were actually the heaviest. Liopluerodon is not the largest carnivorous marine reptile. That actually is up for debate. That is still up for debate. I'd say either Kronosaurus or otherwise that pliosaurus that was discovered in the Scandinavian Arctic. Those would probably be the largest ones in terms of weight. But in terms of length, that would actually be the plesiosaurs, like Elasmosaurus, or otherwise Mosasaurus, because those were actually pretty huge. And so I would say don't believe in what the Walking with Dinosaurs series says, just because you see that actually some of it is due to entertainment value, not really for scientific purposes that much. Because in Cruel Sea, they kind of went towards the entertainment value of the series, not really for the scientific value. Because I'm pretty sure paleontologists have actually told the producers, hey, Liopluerodon is not that large. There is probably a couple specimens that are out there that probably could suggest that it could probably go over 35 feet long, but even though we still don't have enough evidence to prove it. That's the thing, is basically there has to be evidence to actually support the idea that a pliosaur could actually be bigger than it actually is. But I mean, there could be marine reptiles that are larger than what their actual sizes are. It's just basically we just don't know what the biggest ones are. But also, it also has to depend on like what the environment actually gives them, though, too. Because you see, if you're living in between the deep sea and also the shallows, you don't need to get very big, and basically that also constricts of like how much food you actually take. The pliosaurs basically would have actually eaten like some of the ichthyosaurs, small plesiosaurs, and they would have eaten some sea turtles. Probably gone after a pterosaur or two if they had the chance, and they would have probably eaten some large fish, and that's probably what their diet was really. They probably didn't go after full-grown animals. They probably would have just actually went after smaller animals, basically. That's what their prey would have actually have been. But, I mean, who knows what the largest marine reptile actually is. I'm still kind of leaning towards a mosasaur to actually say that, to say the least, but even though those would be one of the longest marine reptiles. But depends on what your definition of biggest actually is. Is it length? Or is it by mass? Alright, that's it for now. Now next week would be a special episode. So if you have a dinosaur or a prehistoric animal that you want me to talk about, feel free to email it to me at dinocris71@gmail.com, or otherwise go on the Facebook page. I post a link of dinosaur names all the time whenever there's a special episode coming up. Just let me know. And also, you can still send me questions about dinosaurs and other prehistoric life by emailing me, dinocris71@gmail.com, or otherwise go on my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page. You can actually post your questions in the comments section. But remember, keep your questions short and to the point. And also, you can follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL. That's my Twitter page. And I post pretty cool stuff there. And also take care of the people around you. And also for younger people out there, make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. Those are the best motivation you can have for good education. It's very important to have a good education, because with a good education, you get a good job in the future. All right, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week.